Friends, and welcome to episode 177 of the Noclip Crewcast. Welcome. If you're watching this on YouTube, you got to watch Jesse Garasha with a beautiful egg in a frying pan, which is on theme for one of the games we're going to talk about this week. But was that a small frying pan? Was that like a novelty-sized?
No, it's a real frying pan. It's like just for eggs. Yeah, you just want to fry 1 or 2 eggs. That's the one you grab.
You got an egg frying pan. Hey, who knows? You know, I've played a lot of Arctic Eggs, but I'm learning more about. That says a lot about Arctic Eggs. I'm learning more about how to fry an actual egg from 5 seconds of talking to you than long conversations in the Arctic with people about what flavors of cigarettes they like with their eggs. Full crew this week. We got the whole shebang here. Jeremy Jane, how are you doing? How do you like your eggs?
In real life, scrambled, like 2 scrambled eggs, maybe a little chopped onion and mushroom in there, a little garlic you saute before the eggs go in. But in Arctic Eggs, I would say 2 fried eggs, a cigarette, and like 2 bullets, probably.
Terrific.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, that's good. Well, yeah, you know, croutons, they're important. Frank, what's your favorite type of bullet? Is it a Full Metal Jacket, a hollow point? What's your flavor?
Oh man, one that's going into the terrorist who's about to plant the bomb, and then that bullet is the one that wins the round.
Counter-terrorists win.
Yeah.
That was cool. I thought you were doing the whole like daydreaming about being the person who kills the terrorist, you know, or like the school shooter or something. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, doing all that. That's you ever do that? Do you ever have little fantasies about being the hero? I can be your hero, Howley.
No,
never.
No.
Okay. Just what do you dream about?
I dream about Kirk and Hall. I dream about. No, I don't know.
You want to be a table in one of those matches, don't you? Get smashed in half. All right, that's it. Yeah, you do. Yeah, see it. You know. Got right in the brain there. Hello, welcome to the Crewcast. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. I don't know what's going on, folks. Somebody squeezed the indie game udder, and our cup floweth over with frothy video game fun. This week we're going to talk about Arctic Eggs, Cryptmaster, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Isles of Sea and Sky, and we're also going to talk about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, because why not? And also Senua Sacrifice, which is not an indie game at all. It's not made by an indie studio anymore, right? They're fully owned by Microsoft.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
it is kind of a short game. It's in the 5-hour game window that keeps coming up again over and over for us. Maybe it's a bit
so it's basically indie. That's one of the 3 tenets of an indie game, right? 5 hours long.
Roguelike.
Wholesome, yes, right?
Yep.
Farming
Pixel
sim.
art.
Sorry.
Pixel art,
Card
yeah,
battler.
exactly.
How many of these do you have to hit to be an indie game?
Yeah, it's like a checklist.
At least 3, right?
To get certification, you have to hit at least like 5 out of 12.
If the lead developer has like a sort of a fancy mustache as well, I think that works.
Yep.
That helps.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Or unconventional
coat.
haircut will also be accepted.
Absolutely.
If the haircut, like a really strong undercut that's like super long and spiky on one side.
How do you feel about mullet? Are you an indie
Mullet,
dev?
I think
You got a mullet?
I think mullet counts.
You're just a different flavor of indie dev.
Yeah, I think the mullet counts.
Dirtbag indie.
I say that as a white boy from the woods. I think the mullet it counts.
You should grow one. Like all of our incredible Battle Pass holders, Eamon Slattery, Harry Flanagan, Battle Royale Games, Arno, Richard Matherson, James Brown, Mark Rojas, Ryan Cobb, Tucker Morgan, Crimson Cyclist, Sven Huster, Pez, Uint Nate, Tim Robinson, Forrest Pruitt, Jonathan Kremen, Eric Hamilton Schneider, Emerald, Zachary Snader, Alex Sharp, Alex Goucher, George Segotis, Jacob Godserve, Tohir Tiliev, and of course, Ryson. We love you, Ryson. We love you, Ryson. We love all of our Battle Pass holders. We love all of our patrons. The right wing flip is engaged. We're here. We're here to talk about video games, though. Before we do, though, my little piece of flavor, if you watch the podcast on YouTube, you see we do like 30 seconds of dancing at the start, which is basically because we have the intro music and we just have to cover it off. I have here in my possession a VHS sent in from a patron. Max,
cool.
Thank you very much for sending this in. He sent me an email.
A wild racing adventure.
I don't know what the fuck this is. Diddy Kong Racing, a wild racing adventure. It is a 1997 official Rare and Nintendo VHS. Diddy Kong, Banjo, and Crunch characters are licensed by Nintendo. It doesn't look particularly long, but I'm gonna give it an L. Give it an L. Record with our new setup. We managed to get new VHS capture equipment. I want to make sure I forgot why. Yeah, the RetroTink. It's the RetroTink 4K. It's an expensive piece of kit. It is basically sort of like the go-to now for VHS recording because it has a time-based corrector built into it. It's got great support from the producer of it, who puts out great firmware updates and stuff, especially for VHS stuff. Apparently, in the past couple of months, they're frequently sold out. I've been on a wait list for a while. Thanks so much a lot to many of the patrons for letting me know about the wait list and letting me know when they were going up. Like I said, it was $750 to buy this piece of equipment, but it is one of the last pieces of equipment we need. I also got a Beta SP. I think I told you guys last week. I got a Beta Max SP or a Beta SP, Beta Cam SP, deck. From eBay for not that bad. It was about $150, $200. The one that is going to cost a lot is, I think it's the DVC Pro tapes, but we don't have that many of them. So the Betacam thing is looking really good, and we're going to start capturing all that sort of stuff. I'm just having a problem with SDI cables now for some reason. SDI cables just don't want to play a game. I don't know. SDI converters are just being fucking little weirdos.
It's wild how expensive the RetroTink is, given that its primary purpose is for retro games. Like, you got to spend $700 if you want to play, I don't know, a TurboGrafx 16 and like 4K. People are doing that.
I mean, in 4K, it's not in 4K, but
it's not upscaling it. HD remastering all your games.
You can buy a quick HDMI to, analog. Pick your analog adapter for, $20 if you want. It's the problem. It's the same thing with like the FrameMeister, right? FrameMeister was like, what was that, like $160 or something like that?
Pretty sure it was more than that.
Was it? Yeah. Okay. That was really, it gave you lots of control. It's just like if you're a sicko who wants to capture or like stream in a way that gives you all that control over the final.
Or not have it look bad either. Like, as convenient as those $20 converters are, they still, input lag goes through the roof.
That's true.
Like if you want a traditional experience, if you want cool filters on your real console, CRT on my HD TV.
That's the thing. If you want the traditional experience, you buy yourself a big fucking cathode ray tube television, and then you plug it into that, and then
go to Value Village.
Exactly.
$5.
Value Village, is that a place in Canada?
Oh, do you guys not have Value Village? Am I digging deep?
We have Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree. No, Value Village is like a thrift store.
Okay.
What's your thrift? Do you have like a thrift store brand? It's like a regular
Salvation
one?
Army is like the
Salvation
chain
Army.
One. Yeah,
that's a religious thing. That's so weird to me that's
there is weird religious
shop.
vibes when you just go in for like a $5 suit.
Yeah, they hand you pamphlets. You're trying to buy like old T-shirts with fishing memorabilia on it, and they're just handing you these pamphlets for a religion that you don't even think is real.
Yeah, at the register, they're like, make sure you don't do abortions, and you're like, okay.
I guess, man.
I feel like Goodwill is more on the West Coast, maybe.
Goodwill too.
Okay,
than Salvation Army, but there's probably some angle on that as well. I gotten a lot of stuff from Goodwill for the retro stuff. I got some VHS players from Goodwill. I got a DVD player with a time-based corrector in it from Goodwill for like $6.
Oh, wow.
So like, I got a couple of monitors from there as well, actually. LCD monitors. It was right beside where our mailbox in Novato is /was, so I used to always pop in on the way and see.
Okay, I've got the scoop on Goodwill's religious affiliations here. Goodwill is officially today. They say today, Goodwill is officially a secular organization, but we still maintain cordial relations with the Methodist Church and many other churches.
Oh boy.
Okay, so it seems like they used to be religious and they're downplaying it now.
Okay, they got. I don't know much about Methodists. What's their method?
I don't really know. Kind of one of the religions
dude,
I don't know.
You went to school
anything
for
about.
this.
I went to school for.
If we ask you about Zoroastrianism, it doesn't mean you tell us everything. But Methodists, that's too far.
Exactly. That's too close to home. He can see. He's looking downrange at all the weird shit.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, that's farsighted.
tell you about something.
Anytime I look up a religion with a funny name like that and I see the founder is just a guy named John, I'm like, bro, what are we doing?
They're all guys named John.
Exactly. Yeah. Snake oil, man. Snake oil tastes good no matter what the century. Apologies to all of our non-atheist listeners for our very insensitive and flippant take on your religion, especially if you're Methodist. If you're Methodist, hey, email in. Tell us the method. How long we got to be in before they teach us the method? Is there like entry level methods, and then there's like a sort of a S tier method you learn?
How is there a man whose whole thing is the method?
He's got the method. Hey man, if Method Man is running the Methodist, then I'm on board. Although I might have to go hang out with the old dirty bastardists instead.
I would join that church.
It's probably in a prison. Is he out of prison yet? ODB? I think he is.
Isn't ODB dead? Am I thinking of one of the
he's
other?
He's in
That's the
Satan's
prison
or he's in God's prison. I don't know.
Yeah, ODB died like 20 years ago.
Okay, well there you go. That shows you how fucking up to date on the Wu-Tang I really am.
We should check in on him, and then you're like, oh no!
Exactly. God damn it. Good video games though. Frank, what's your favorite Wu-Tang game?
Well, there's the Wu-Tang game on PS1, but anytime I think of ODB, he did a song on. He has a song on ICP's album, The Jekyll Brothers, called "Bitches."
Okay.
In which ICP paid
He's
him.
talking about dogs, is he?
Yeah. Well, yeah. ICP paid him like a grand.
Fago? A grand?
No. 10. I think they paid him like 10 grand for a verse, and they wrote about it in their book, and he completely just, it's like the most insane verse ever, and so ICB just had to come up with a song around it, and so it's just three. It's Shaggy 2 Dope, it's Shaggy 2 Dope, Violent J, and ODB just rapping. I don't know.
Is it like awful? Like did they pay him for a verse and he gave them the most like misogynist awful shit?
Yeah.
That's
they're like, you know what? Hey, let's go with it. And it's
they're like sunk cost.
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
We didn't put revisions into the contract. Just got to roll with this red money.
So it's kind of the only ODB song I know, but it's worth listening to.
They should have put it in as an interlude with just like Benny Hill music playing underneath it or something, just like a weird, put a reverb on it so it sounds like he's on his own.
Do you think there's like a really, really hard trap song out there where the beat is like a flip of the Benny Hill theme, but like with some hi-hats and some 808 chip?
Yeah. I mean, I find it hard to believe there's not somebody who only does remixes of the Benny Hill, like that Charles Barkley rap that like there's like 1,000 remixes of it. There's like a Hotline Miami version of it. There's like all of these. Yeah, I feel like somebody's got to be out there doing that, right?
Probably. I assume so.
SoundCloud has all kinds.
All right. Well, we're not here to talk about SoundCloud. We're here to talk about Steam, the SoundCloud of video games. And somebody uploaded a really weird EP this week called Arctic Eggs. Jeremy Jane, explain to us what the goddamn hell Arctic Eggs is.
Arctic Eggs is I would say it's like a gritty, futuristic, dystopian sci-fi game about cooking. I think that's the most condensed way to explain it. It is a first-person game, kind of a surrealist game where you go around cooking various dishes for people. It starts very simple with eggs, and then as other ingredients are introduced, you get cigarettes and bullets, and some of them edible, some of them not edible. Fish that are still alive, flipping their way out of the pan. But it's it almost reminds me. I was trying to think of because it's so strange. I was trying to think of what it reminds me of, and it almost reminds me of some of the shrine puzzles in some of the recent Zeldas, where you're like tilting the big board.
Oh, wild! Yeah,
and you're right. That's a really good comparison. But
and moving the ball around, it reminds me of that. In those, you could do this trick where it would be like a maze where you're moving like a marble, and you're like, I'm moving my hands around in a such as a way to describe this movement. But you could kind of like flip the board and skip the maze. It was a trick that some people figured out in those. And imagine if you had a game and it was just all of that. You basically like move the mouse around to kind of like simmer things in the pan and get them cooking, and they kind of sizzle. And then most things need to be cooked on both sides. So what you have to do is you have to tilt your mouse to one side and then kind of like jerk it the other way and flip the eggs, but make sure not to like spill everything out of the pan. Essentially, so it's kind of like a physics game.
Yeah, you say it's cooking. Is it I don't know what happens later in this game, but at least the like start of the game, it is predominantly a frying pan. All you're doing is walking around in first person shooter. The aesthetic is kind of like it's somewhere. It's got a lot of like dithering, and it almost looks like a first person Metal Gear Solid or maybe like a Deus Ex or something. Like the character models look a little bit Deus Ex-y, like the first one. Very at least the opening, area that I've played, it's very linear. You're going up and talking to people. There's text boxes. The dialogue's really good. Like the dialogue's funny, and like you're getting a weird sense of this like this city in the Arctic that they're all living in, and they're all asking you for ridiculous things. Like I mentioned cigarettes because like I think it's like the second or third person you cook eggs for is like, I like cigarettes in mine. Just make sure to have it fried before the cigarette like runs out. So it's just like I guess like everyone is sort of like a different take on the puzzle, I guess.
Yeah, so every different ingredient has its own kind of unique challenge. So the cigarette is kind of like a time attack kind of thing. There's like a fish that's still alive, so it tries to flip its way out. Various ingredients I won't spoil every ingredient, but some of them try to like crawl away. Some of them are like bouncing around. The bullets obviously explode after a time, which causes like a physics explosion that tries to knock things out of your pan. So as you're trying to like simmer stuff, my strategy would end up being that I would tilt the bullets to one side and kind of try to like flip them out of the pan without losing everything. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned kind of like the atmosphere and the dialogue. The person who did all of the world building and they're credited as world building and 3D modeling for this is CD Bunker, is a 3D artist that I've been following on Twitter for a really long time.
Oh, cool.
Super talented. Does kind of like photo bashing, it looks like, for their textures. So it's like a lot of weird mixtures of real life and doctoring things into feeling more video gamey. But it's very kind of like collage-y feel almost to stuff that I really love.
Yeah,
but
the faces in it are I keep like going up and looking at them really closely because I'm like, what's going? Now that you mentioned that they're doing like a bit of like photo bashing, I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally see that. Like they kind of look like faces that have been the textures that have just been like wrapped around a model.
Yeah, they're super like interesting, unique style. I just it adds so much to the world building because the world itself is like you're in the Arctic and you're trying to basically like earn your way to freedom outside of this colony by cooking well enough. So there is a story conceit in this game, which is essentially that you're trying to cook for enough people that you gain enough notoriety that the Saint of Six Stomachs will allow you audience with him. So you can plead your case to escape from the Arctic colony. But yeah, it's the dialogue I think is especially fantastic because when you go up to a person in this game, you kind of don't know if you're about to get like the strangest, most like throwaway, irreverent joke or like an incredibly profoundly sincere little poetic musing about like I won't like rattle off everyone in it, but there just one throwaway character in the game that like really stuck with me is this guy who has a like a robotic synthetic arm, this old like mostly naked guy who's just sitting down by the water, and he's like, yeah, my son like won't let me die. He keeps like replacing parts of my body with fake parts, and he's like, I'm like ready to go, but he won't let me go. And it's just I was so blindsided by this little meditation on like ship of Theseusing a human being with like synthetic parts. I don't know. It just like this game is very surprising and has like kind of like a weird 80s sci-fi dystopian feel to it. It's just like it feels like it has a flavor that is not like anything I have played.
Yeah, it's because they keep putting cigarettes in the eggs.
It's the cigarettes.
It's weird. Yeah, it's one of those games. Go check out the Steam page. Take a look at the like a couple of screenshots. You'll basically sort of get it, I imagine. Jesse, you've played some of this too?
Yeah, I got about a third of the way through it, and I was like, I need to play something else. It's a really cool, like, interesting idea for a video game. And I think the thing that I liked about it the most is the environment. And sort of this tone of like, and I've played a bunch of games that are starting to do more of this, like Umurangi Generation, or there was a Next Fest demo in February for a game called Fragmented City. I really like small, sort of like, maybe like is the wrong word. I appreciate small dystopic environments full of NPCs that you can talk to that give you some window into their world. Like, they exist. It feels like the characters in Arctic Eggs are just kind of like spewing nonsense to some extent, but there is a certain like world buildy, not exposition to the way that they talk, but like like there are characters in a world, and when you approach them, they talk to you like you're a person who showed up, as opposed to like, tell me about the Reapers, or like, who is the Saint of the Six Stomachs? They just tell you about the world because you try to interact with them. Like, this is the thing they're going to say. And I appreciate that element of it. And like the world, especially, like I'm saying, there's something about being in those spaces where it feels like you're entering somewhere in a real way, not in like a video gamey way where you're the hero showing up and being presented with the key to the city and you're allowed to do whatever you want. It feels like you're encroaching on a space and like you have to respect these people and give them food. I don't know. It's a theme I'm noticing more and more that I really appreciate in these kinds of weirder indie games. It's the kind of thing that sticks with me the most.
Yeah, I definitely don't feel like the world is realistic in any way. Like, but what it reminds me of more so is like, I don't know, the feeling of turning up to like Meow Wolf or something, or like a what do you call it when there's like a theatrical event you go to where everyone's part of the show, where like
a flash mob or
like living cinema type stuff, you know?
That,
where like it's fake, you know. There's no like, you're not pretending to be like, this is an immersive world. Like, I don't believe that the world of Arctic eggs is a real world, because why the fuck are these people eating eggs with cigarettes and bullets? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But
maybe it's delicious. Have you tried it?
Right. But what I'm getting to is that like it's less that it's believable and realistic. It's more that it's interesting. And
I guess I worded it wrong. I think what I'm saying is I agree with you. Like, what you're saying is totally correct. I think what I'm saying is I feel like the characters that you're speaking to believe the world that they're in. Like, it doesn't feel like characters giving me information. It feels like they've bought the place they're in.
I guess what I'm getting at is that like, when you have a realistic world in which there's like full of characters, they need to talk to you as if people who live in a real world would. Whereas in this, they're talking to you as if you have turned up at a show and they're giving you a little bit of information. So, which I like. Like, I think it's cool. I think this game doesn't try and like have the conceit of trying to get you to believe that it's a real place, so that if you go up and talk to the guard, they only talk about the things that are relevant to, you know, what a guard would say, or if you talk to the shop. This is just like, you walk to somebody and they give you something funny. You walk up to somebody else and they say something interesting that tells you about the world. And that, I like that, because it's less like, it's not taking itself overly serious about its universe, but it's doing a great job of communicating that universe to you, which
it feels like Jesse, I feel what you're saying on the level that like, it feels like people are saying it's kind of like in media res when you walk up to people, like they're like occupied by a thought, and you walk up and it's like if you're at a party where everyone kind of like vaguely knows each other, and people, it's not like everyone treats each other like strangers. You walk up and you're like, hey, how's it going? And someone's like, I've been having a really rough time lately, and like, it's the kind of interaction that you wouldn't get from like a totally random stranger.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, people, I feel you. People feel like believable in this world where you walk up, and instead of, it's not like an RPG town where you, like you said, you walk up and someone's like, the Emperor has been especially cruel this week, and then you walk up to someone else and they're like, the Emperor is a bad man, and they're all just kind of like spitting different angles on the same, like world building nugget. Everyone in this world has like, it seems it like implies a larger world, because even if you walk up and people kind of repeat the same conversation, that conversation is something that feels like a little weird slice of life, where like someone randomly is like, yeah, I used to like, I think they said they like hung out with the Saint of Six Stomachs, like relative, like their daughter or something. And it's just like, it has no bearing on anything, but it's just kind of, you just like walk up and they're like, oh, what's going on? Yeah, I was just like thinking about dying, what it would be like. You're like, okay, dude, Jesus Christ.
It reminds me of the Jordan Peele thing, where like he got interviewed when he did a bunch of his movies, and they were like, oh, it's weird that you went from comedy to horror. And he's like, well, I think they're funny. Like, horror can be funny. Like I find this game funny, even though it's not overtly a comedy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just interesting, and like the way in which a joke is about sort of flipping expectations. You know, you expected answer A and you get answer Z, right? And that's what a punchline is. This kind of does that too as well, where it's just like, ugh, like, why are you putting a fish in this frying pan? Or, you know what I mean? Like it's very like, oh, that's odd. Or like, I like 5 eggs. You know, like, oh, I'm gonna do them all at the same time. Okay, that's, you know.
The thing that I like the most about this game is that the world building is incredible. Like, if this world was just a world with no core gameplay mechanic, I would still mess around with this game and go around and talk to people or whatever. But like, the frying pan mechanic, the core gameplay mechanic of this is so fucking like fun and clever. And it's like the reason it's so clever is because like the entire game, the game is like a little over 2 hours. I went back and played it on hard mode because I fucking really like frying eggs.
Okay, so the difficulty settings are really funny. If you go in the settings menu, it's so I just had, because I was blown away by it. I was like, oh, there's settings. Okay, difficulty, sure. You click on it and it shows you a 3D model of the pan, just the pan isolated. And then when you pick normal, it's a frying pan. Easy, it's like flat. And then on easy, it's like raised up. Yeah. So like it's a way higher side, like, and then on hard it's just a flat pan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's a flat. Yeah. Oh my. Ugh. Okay.
So the hard version is basically like like those griddle pans you fry bacon in that have like no sides. It's one of those. So you can't even on it. Yeah. So you can't use the edges to flip stuff. It's actually really fucking hard. I had to get that last achievement for doing the final cooking on hard. But
is there a sandbox mode as well?
I saw a tweet that they were working on one. I don't think it's in there yet.
Okay.
But yeah, the core gameplay mechanic of this game is it's just so fucking like fun. Like it's just fun to play with, and it's legitimately challenging. Like some of these were really, really hard for me. A couple of them in particular were just like I had to do 20 times.
Dude, the 4 eggs was so infuriating. That was really hard.
The worst for me was there are cockroaches that crawl out of the pan.
Yeah, when you go in the prison area or whatever.
I could not fucking get a handle on them. They're so squirrely. But yeah, no, I just think that a game like this, a small game, all it really needs to be is like an interesting world to explore and a really interesting thing to do in that place. And I thought this game is brilliant because it's so compact, but it's like in a really interesting world and like this really fucking bizarrely fun physicsy game mechanic that doesn't play like anything else I've played before. So I don't know, this was like the perfect game for me to sit down and just like chew on for 2.5 hours and enjoy.
Can I bring
sheer comedy, by the way, because like we've talked about it being funny, the writing and the characters. Can you imagine if somebody for 15 minutes straight was trying to cook eggs in front of you?
Oh my god,
just holding a
fucking up constantly.
Sorry guys, give me a second.
There's something so sad. Like you feel like such a doofus when you get it wrong and you flick anything and it just flies out of the top of the screen. You're like, fuck. Like, and sometimes it lands right back down and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. But like you just feel like such a dope. Like that's why videos of people flipping pancakes and fucking it up are like always funny, because you're just like there's something inherently about physics, about the where's it gonna go, and then like you said, Jesse, it's you're like right in front of them doing it. They're just looking at you. You're like, fuck, this is so stupid. Arctic Eggs is it's $10 on Steam. It's 30% off at the moment. Yeah, just check out the screenshots, and if you're into it, I mean, why do you even listen to podcasts if we're just going to say just check out the screenshots if you're into it? But no, I'm with you. I've really enjoyed this game. It's very silly. I want to not even draw a line under it. I want to quickly jump to another game that I've played that I feel like is actually a lot of what you guys are saying about Arctic Eggs is the reason why I'm having trouble with it, and that's Senua's Sacrifice. Now, I'm not a huge I talk a lot on this podcast. I mean, I talk a lot on this podcast. I talk a lot on this podcast about the types of stuff in games that I really enjoy and the stuff that I don't like. And I think I've talked a lot. It's why I didn't connect with like lots of games, like even stuff as far back as Final Fantasy, games that are when you start or the new God of War games. Like I respect them and I've completed them, but they're not really for me, because I really don't like when games are very linear, and I really don't like when they force you to listen to their stories, especially if they're stories I don't necessarily find very compelling. And the first Hellblade game, I respect the shit out of it. I think the performances are really good. I think the production on it's really good. It's just not a game for me. I tried to play it like 3 or 4 times and I always stopped. And like I'm somebody who like has been very, early in the video games talking about depression stuff. I was like such a champion of that stuff at GameSpot, and like it really felt like there was a part of my life that was being talked about, which was really important, but also it was giving me insight into other mental health stuff, which I did not understand to that point. And I do feel like Hellblade, to a certain extent, like as much as I've dealt with depression and anxiety, I have not had manic depression, and I have not had I do not have bipolar or anything like that. And I can see how people would like these games if they can sort of connect with them on that level. And for whatever reason, I don't with Senua. I don't know why. I've tried with Hellblade, with the first one. What was the first one called again? Senua's
Senua's Saga.
Sacrifice? Oh.
No, this is also a problem.
Hellblade Senua's Saga. Was it not?
Senua's Saga, was it?
Yeah, has
thought it was
Hellblade 2 is
Sacrifice.
Senua's Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. No, Sacrifice was the old one. What's the new one called?
Is this one Senua's Saga?
Fuck's
Yes.
sake.
Saga is 2, Sacrifice is 1.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, thank
There
you.
you go. Thank you. Well, that shows you how much I know about this game. So I'm maybe a third of the way. I'm like 2 hours into this. So
Wait, so did you play Senua's Sacrifice or did you play the sequel Senua's Saga?
No, I played the sequel most recently.
Okay.
I say I got.
That's the one we're talking about right now.
I think I got about a third into. Yes, I think I got about a third into the original as well. So look, I also know that from reading about this game that a lot of the combat stuff and the puzzle stuff and the latter half of this gets stronger. I don't want to push people away from this game. I think there's an audience for it, and I really want to just put forward the subjectivity of video games, which is very important, and that I think I was a bad candidate for this game, but I really want to like these games, which is why I've gone ahead and given this one a go. But I think the reason why I don't is sort of like the mirror reflection of what we're talking about with Arctic Eggs, which is that these games put narrative and performance so far ahead of everything else that I have almost no motivation to keep playing. There's the gameplay and look, the intro to these games is always going to do this because they're layering in the combat and X, Y, and Z. But it's the same reason I didn't like The Order 1866, right? Another game that looked really good, that had this and Senua. I think Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, let's call it Hellblade 2.
Yeah.
Looks very good. I don't think it looks incredible. Maybe it does on PC. On the Xbox, I feel like it has that sort of up sampled texture thing that's got where like stuff looks really good, but it also feels like my prescription is off by like 0.2. Like there's a blur, which is fine. Like I don't care, but I don't think it looks like I thought. What was the nun game we played last week? Fucking Indica. I thought Indica looked better, but then again, I was playing Indica on a 4K monitor on my PC, and I was playing this on an Xbox. So I don't know if the Series X version isn't as good. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, to me, the gameplay in it is so. It's like linear by design, and it's supposed to be like a roller coaster you go through. But I think if the narrative was something that I found connected with me, or I found interesting or compelling, but as an example, the first big, you get in a bunch of fights on the beach at the start, for instance, in the first chapter of the game. In the end of the first chapter, you have a bit of an encounter, and it's sort of like a meaningful fight, and it's a very block dodge, same as the original game. There's a bit more to it, I think, in the sequel, but a lot of block dodge, put your sort of shield up, heavy attack, light attack, basically. And during that fight, I was doing it right, but every time I sort of completed a phase of the fight in which I blocked adequately and tackled them back, when the game took control of the fight, Senua would then eventually get hit and put down. And I'm like, I'm getting rewarded for doing the thing perfectly by being like, oh, she gets hit anyway and I was like, fuck's sake. And then the culmination of the fight was something that I wasn't in control of at all. So I didn't even get the satisfaction of that. So I just, at every step I was like, let me play the fucking video game. That's what my brain is like, because I prefer playing games that's why I love Stunt Derby so much, is because I'm not selling our own game as a version of it.
Not biased, by the way.
Or Arctic Eggs, right? A game where you're immediately just playing the fucking game. You know what I mean? I don't need all of this other stuff. So for me, I found it an interesting counterpoint where I was like, oh, Arctic Eggs is a game that is also a very linear game that has a story, but it's mostly about gameplay, and the story is there to sort of give you intrigue and as a motivator for the gameplay. The gameplay is inherently fun. And what I've experienced with myself with Hellblade 2 is that I do not find the story interesting. I find the performances to be compelling and well done, but ultimately I don't connect with it, and the gameplay is basically not there. It's the most basic gameplay you can imagine, and even the fights and stuff like that are it's basic combat stuff, and there was some stuff that I found compelling, like for instance, the expressions on the enemies as you're fighting them. It's because it's such an intimate game. I found that to be really interesting. I think the art design is really compelling. The audio production is really good. I just don't connect with it, man. I don't know. Did you guys play the original? Did you or anyone here a fan of that original Hellblade?
No, I never touched it. I always heard really good things, but
I played it originally when it came. Like when did it come out? The first one,
2017.
So I played it back when it came out, but I feel like it was a 6-hour game, right? So my memory of it is so like I remember
the same.
I remember like the thing it did was like the spatial audio and everything, and just like all the crazy voices and things you hear. But like the combat was so light that I don't know. I liked it, but I haven't touched the new one because I'm afraid it's mostly story stuff and not, minimal combat. So I don't know if I'll get to it.
Yeah, I mean, like Ninja Theory have made and presumably are making more. I think this was a studio that like they did a lot of promo before the game came out about like, and they also did like a great job of like showing off a bunch of dev diaries of them working on it and stuff. But like in light of all the Microsoft closures, this was a studio I've been worried about a little bit, just because they are making games that are like award winning, but I'm not sure if these games are selling like hotcakes. But obviously they did the DMC game back in the day, the Devil May Cry one, which is that was great. Like, and that I think that game had fantastic combat, and I love the art style on it. Obviously Enslaved was a game that sort of married character action with interesting story and performances. But yeah, I don't know. It's not I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe fans of this game really like this stuff. I imagine if you really like the first game, this seems very much like a high production value, looks even better. Presumably the story, and so I get the feeling that a lot of it's a marked improvement on that first game, but it's just for me personally, these aren't games that I connect with at all. And I'm on their Wikipedia page. I don't know what Bleeding Edge is. Do you guys know?
No, I was just looking at
that name sounds
MOBA,
familiar.
Is it?
Is that a fighting game MOBA or like a character action MOBA?
Multiplayer online battle arena game. Yeah, it must have been a MOBA. I don't think, is it still out? I
Online
honestly
brawler
could
where every
not
fighter
tell you.
mechanically enhanced for mayhem.
Well, we're all mentioning it. None of us. It's on Steam. It's mixed reviews. Art style looks great.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
No, it is not what I thought it was.
March 22. Oh, it came out March 24th, 2020. Jesus Christ. Like COVID day.
Yeah,
There's no better time to launch a multiplayer
It got
game.
overshadowed a little bit by some other events in the world.
Something happened potentially.
Well, yeah.
Look, you know what? I'm gonna give them a pass on that one, because if you launched a live service game the week that COVID kicked off, there's a good chance that your post-launch support was affected by that in some way.
Yeah.
Do you think did any games come out on 9/11 that flopped because of that?
Oh fuck! God. A couple of movies was GTA 3 was close after, right?
Yeah, it came out like October.
Yeah, and they had to. And the Spider-Man thing, well, it wasn't that. Maybe that was.
Yeah, same with Lilo and Stitch. Originally, there was a plane scene near the
Oh,
end of
no.
You know when they're doing the plane bit? Yeah. Originally, it was an actual plane, and they drive through like Honolulu or whatever, and they like run the plane along a curved building, and they were like, "We can't do that anymore."
No.
Holy shit.
Lilo and Stitch are sympathetic to the plight of Al Qaeda.
Okay, wait, I got one. Advance Wars, the Nintendo game for Game Boy Advance, came out.
Wow.
September 10th.
Bro, there's literally no way.
One.
Isn't that crazy though? Because they did the re-release of the Advance War games or something like that on Switch, and they had to delay it because the Ukraine war started.
Oh my god, dude, that game causes wars. I think Advance Wars is a psyop.
The original Advance War came out in for some reason I thought that was a 90s game. That's wild. It did. It came out in North America in 2001. That is crazy. Wow.
Madness. They're just trying to sanitize war by making it cute so that you want to join the army.
Man.
Jesus.
So yeah.
Anyway,
look,
bummer. It sounds like you didn't enjoy AAA Dragon Slayer. I'm sorry to hear that.
Look, that's not a bad.
It's not an insult. Dragon Slayer is sick as hell.
Well, that's a good point. There are plenty of people who really fucking like Dragon Slayer because it's got amazing graphics, but like it is, I would obviously this isn't as punishing as that. I think it's a pretty easy game, all things considered. Puzzles are pretty easy, and the combat's not very challenging at all. But yeah, I don't know. I hope people who I would really like to, if you're a fan of that original game and you've played Hellblade 2 and it connects to you, I'd be very interested to know Like how I think I get it. Like when it's games like the God of War ones, the new ones, for instance. Like I know that they have a massive audience for it, and I grit my teeth through a lot of the story stuff. And the areas that I've loved about those games are the open ones. You know what I mean? I think the parts of God of War and of Ragnarok where they give you, like when you get the boat, you know what I mean, and you're out in that big lake and do it, like all that stuff was great. I love that stuff. That was like, that gave me the sort of the artifice of freedom that I get, or that even, like, I'm a big Half-Life fan. Those games are linear as hell, but they give you this sense of less of that. I don't know what it is. It could be down to something as stupid as the fact that it's a third person camera. It could have something to do with the fact that I feel like I'm not there because I can feel the edges more, whereas in a first person shooter I can just jump around and bunny hop and shit, and it gives me a sense of freedom. I don't know what it is, but now that I say the words, saying something like God of War is linear and Half-Life isn't sounds completely arbitrary, but there is a distinction in my brain. I don't know what it is.
I think there's an interesting and meaningful, like, mechanical distinction between those things, because I think, like, Half-Life is a good example, or like Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. Dark Messiah is an incredibly linear game,
yes,
but the systems it's giving you are sandboxy and emergent, and it lets you, within those, like, linear arenas, it gives you, like, little pockets of emergent, like, what do you want to put ice on the ground and a guy runs and he slips off the cliff, or like the rope arrow in that game. Like the rope arrow you can only use in kind of like very narrow contextual situations. It's basically like only where they want you to use it, but because you're the one shooting the rope arrow where you want it, it feels like there is more of like an openness to the game, even if it's totally linear. So something like Hellblade, it's like you're walking up and I mean, I haven't played these games. I'm just kind of trying to draw.
No, I think you've nailed it. I think you've nailed it. And it's interesting that I think if I go back to the comparison of Senua's Sacrifice and Arctic Eggs, and again, this is just me trying to understand my subjective love of these games, not like any sort of like broad qualitative analysis of both of them. But the fact that in Arctic Eggs, if I want, I can flip an egg fucking anywhere. I can try and hit the camera with it. I have full control over that thing, as opposed to Senua's Sacrifice, where it feels like there are only ever two things to do in any room. And it's usually walk or run, and that's it.
Well, it's interesting because, like, the thing you said about Arctic Eggs, about the NPCs and the world sort of feeling like it's actors in a play or actors in a show, I think is what appeals to me about those kinds of games. Because you mentioned The Order 1886, or even like Rise, Son of Rome. These are games that are very, like, they feel like tech demos, and ultimately, performance-wise and in terms of the amount of work that the teams put into them, they kind of are. I mean, they're bleeding edge graphics, bleeding edge animations, and motion capture. It's beautiful stuff. And I like playing those games because you're like an actor in a play, and like you're performing the commands, and like you're doing the thing, and you're helping the story move along in a very linear fashion. But like, to me, I appreciate, like, I like The Order 1886 because the story that plays out, I thought was interesting, and like I liked the gameplay of it. I was like, I wish this world was a little bit bigger. Nikola Tesla being a character that's important was kind of cool. I like the werewolf stuff that was going on. I don't know. I think part of it is the story. If the story isn't compelling to you, then it really doesn't matter what you're doing. Like if it's a linear game and the story is a big part of it, or if it's an open world game and it's cool and the story is a big part of it, it doesn't really matter. You're gonna fucking hate it. Like,
that might be a big part of it, because and there is a distinction. Like you mentioned Rise and The Order and this, and to me, in my head, these are all games that were trying to convince me that they weren't video games.
Yes, and they were experiences.
Yes, and I didn't believe any of them. And Arctic Eggs isn't trying to convince me it's not a video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it believes in its work. Like it's not like, nodding and winking. And to a certain extent, Cryptmaster is another one of these, a game we'll talk about in a bit. Cryptmaster is another game that like fucking knows it's a video game. Like it has to know it's a video game. And for some reason, like maybe that's a personal thing that I can sort of reflect on a bit. Like a game that sort of understands that it's a game, even in its story, I'm okay with something that takes itself too seriously, I don't. And I think that's why I don't know, maybe I like games like, maybe that's why I like Oblivion so much, because like as much as it's trying to believe in its world, there's a lot of that game that feels like, I know I'm the video game man, come ask me for the quest. And I like that, and I think it's funny. So I don't know, for whatever reason, it just, yeah. But you might be right, Jesse, it might have something to do with that. And like and your appreciation of a story is like such a lizard brain, I have no control over a thing, that like I'm not going to stand here and say one game's good, one game's bad, but like, yeah, for whatever reason, those games don't connect with me. I wish they did. I'm going to keep playing it. I feel like I owe it to at least complete one of these Hellblade games, and maybe on the back end of it, I'll really like it. But yeah, it's hard to tell. One game is 2 hours and it costs $10 or 3 hours. How long is RTX? 2-3 hours?
That's like 2.5 if you take it. I 100% did it in like 2.5 hours.
And Hellblade 2 is like, I'm guessing it's on Game Pass. So is it on Game Pass? No, it's on Game Pass. Is it on Game Pass?
No, it definitely is. It definitely day one on Game Pass. Yeah.
Sorry, I got a code for it. I should say that. So I did not get it on Game Pass. But
see, that's how you know we're honest, because he wasn't really nice to it and he got a code. We don't lie.
Yeah,
well,
you have to fuck yeah. Well, you have to be on. You can't not be honest about. I know offense. I've been getting codes for about fucking 12 years now. So I always thank people when they send us codes. But it's I'm over that. I have a Excel spreadsheet with 2,000 codes to Stunt Derby, so I know how easy it is to get codes. So
Ever since Jesse compared Hellblade to Dragon's Lair, I've had this image in my head of kids at like a Chuck E. Cheese, and they're all like gathered around the Hellblade machine, and the one kid is playing, and everyone's just like, "Come on, you have to escape your traumatic past."
They all died.
Dude, put the headphones on.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it sounds like they're behind me.
Fuck. Yeah, I bet with a good pair of speakers. I have a decent pair of speakers here, actually. It does sound good on them. I've got some edifiers on that television. Sounds all right. So don't have surround sound or anything though, but yeah. Senua Sacrifice. Let's jump into Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Jesse. I feel like you've been chatting to us about this for a hot minute. Is it out now?
Game. It's a fun game. Yeah. It came out last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Let me get the date for you.
March,
Lorelei and the
16th,
Laser Eyes. Oh, there you go. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is probably my favorite game of the year so far.
Oh,
it's definitely up there. This is, it's so hard to talk about it because on the one hand, I think the things it does really well are easy to talk about, but there's like spoilery, and the other half of it is the stuff that I think it does really well and is easy to talk about is like comparing it to things. So let's go that way. So Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is I would call it an escape room style video game. It plays a lot like, and they're inspired by the original Resident Evils, like 1 and 2 on the PS2 or PS1, sorry. It takes place in a mansion or a hotel in this one, and you're solving very cryptic puzzles. And the focus of the game is basically just solving puzzles in this mansion. The narrative for it is that you're playing as a woman. Who knows what her name is? Maybe it's Lorelei, maybe it's not. And you are invited by a like billionaire, millionaire, rich guy. It takes place in maybe the 60s. Who's to say? It's sort of like a time-bending, mind-bending conspiracy thing going on narratively. But yeah, you're basically working your way through Spencer Mansion, but their version of it. There's all these puzzles. Things are like outlined. There's red paint footsteps so you know where to go, and like there's a lot of notes and letters that you read through, and the experience of playing it is sort of like it's not like playing Resident Evil where you're looking for the red key to open the red door. It's a lot more like it reminded me of Tunic while playing it. In fact, for a lot of reasons, and the post game of Tunic, not the combat part. Not like a little fox running around the house cutting stuff. There's no combat in the game whatsoever. It's fully puzzle focused. But it's a lot of scrolling down stuff. You have to play this with pen and paper. In fact, one of the first things you do after the game starts is open your car, go in the glove compartment, and there's an instruction manual, like an in-game instruction manual, talking to you and telling you, get a pen and paper, you moron. This is going to be hard.
Is it hard that way from the jump? Is it
so the puzzles sort of ease you in. The first one is like they tell you what the puzzle is. Like it's open the door. You need a number. There's a lock on a thing,
right,
and you don't know what the number is, but you got a letter with a date that's underlined, and then you find another note that says use the date, and then you open the thing with the date. But the puzzles very quickly turn into these sort of cerebral mind palace things. In fact, when you hit pause, it kind of reminded me of Alan Wake 2. You don't go into a literal 3D space and walk around, but like you press it and you see a view of your character and then like all their stats and then this list of things that you can read through, all the information. But the focus of the puzzles is like they're not like I'm saying, it's not like Resident Evil where you're looking for a key or you're trying to fill a tank with a certain amount of water. It's more like
logic, deduction, finding pieces.
There's a lot of math, but not like don't worry, you're not trying to find the derivative of anything. You're just doing like addition and subtraction and learning what the numbers mean. There's a bit of like required understanding of like Roman numerals. They do explain how Roman numerals work, but it's a lot easier if you know how they work.
Is it a game where you are puzzle after puzzle in a linear way, or if you get stuck on one of them, can you sort of like go to another part of the mansion and do a different one?
Yeah, so like in Resident Evil style, you have a big area that you can move around in. There are rooms that will be locked off and you'll have to find stuff. In fact, there are a lot of points where you'll find yourself sort of stuck. I felt like I got stuck maybe 2 or 3 times and had to just walk around the mansion a couple times to relearn what the information was. But I think once you get there, once you learn what it's about and what it's going for, you will feel like a genius. This game will make you feel like a moron, and it will make you feel like a genius in the same 2-minute span. Because all of the puzzles are like information that in a moment when you're reading it, when you're looking at it, makes no sense. It might make just enough sense for you to solve the puzzle in front of you, but there's clearly more to the information than what you're looking at. It might present like, here's a box and then 7 other boxes. And you're like, what are the 7 other boxes for? And the game might literally tell you, don't worry about that. Just leave do what you're doing. And then 20 hours later, it took me about 25 hours. 20 hours later.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a meaty boy. It's not like there's that much to do. I bet if you knew exactly what you were doing, it's maybe like 3 hours long. But just the deduction, the puzzle work, everything. But like I'm saying, it'll give you information, and then 45 minutes later, that information, or 2 hours later, 20 hours later, that information will be pertinent, and a light switch will flip. I want to talk about some of the puzzles because like they're so good, but again, I don't want to spoil anything. I think this is the kind of thing that if you like, and I'm talking hardcore puzzles. These are not like you're going to walk in and be pushing some blocks around. I'm going to be talking about one of those later. It's a much more approachable
These aren't your dad's
game.
puzzles.
These aren't. No, these are your granddad's puzzles. It's really hard, but it's really fun. I think it's absolutely going to be one of my favorite games of the year, just because the aesthetic is beautiful. It has a great art style.
Can I ask you about that a little bit? So it's got a sort of I don't know, like it's somewhere between Killer 7 and Deathly Premonition. Is it like monochromatic? Is it black and white all the way through, or is
black
it
and
like
white and pink? The pink is pink or red. That sort of range of colors really stand out. That's like
person?
sort of the puzzle hint. Yeah, it plays like Resident Evil again, the fixed camera perspective. Whenever you enter a room, the camera's stuck. Sometimes it'll move a little bit, but for the most part, it plays. If you've played a Resident Evil, you'll have no problem controlling it. It is 1-button navigation, so like pulling up your menu, leaving the menu, all 1 button. There's been some frustration around the controls. I don't feel like that's really fair. It's not that hard.
Wait, you fucking wait till I talk about Cryptmaster. If you want to talk about
I can't wait. If we're going to talk about controls. But yeah, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes visuals are fantastic. It's inspired by like classic French films. I can't remember the name of one of them, but they brought up like real like hardcore French films. You go back and you look at some of the screenshots from there. Yeah. Let me find the name.
I've watched a lot of those.
Oh boy. Oh geez. Not one of those. I hope not one of those. But yeah, it's honestly, I don't know. Again, I have an iPad full of me scrawling numbers and lines and shapes and puzzles and taking pictures of my TV screen.
Nice.
Trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And just, I think multiple times from the other room, Cassie heard me yell, "That's the puzzle?" Like so many times. Because I couldn't believe what they were doing. It's not like, I don't know. I don't want to oversell it. That's the worst thing with this game is I don't want to oversell it, because if you don't like puzzles, it's going to be so hard for you to get into it. But if you can like stomach a little challenge, if adding 2 4-digit numbers together doesn't make your head want to fall apart, I think Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is going to blow your mind. I play a lot of puzzle games. I am the nerd for this game. Using aesthetic things that I'm into, like Killer 7, like you mentioned, it feels like a Grasshopper game a lot of time.
Yes,
there's even moments that reference it. And I like I've played so many puzzle games that this shouldn't be hard for me. This was hard and it surprised me. Like Danny, you were talking about last week, like the most important thing for you with video games is like being surprised.
Yeah.
Like playing something that genuinely like shakes you and goes, "Hey, I'm doing something new, pay attention." This for puzzle games is the one for me. I was not expecting it to do half the shit that it's doing. There's puzzles in here that if Jeremy did the puzzle, Jeremy would fucking jump up for joy. It's so cool. You need to play you need to play this game.
I know I do. There's too many fucking games coming out, dude.
So many games, but there'll be everyone who's listening. If you're interested in this, bank this shit, wish list it. There are always periods, especially we're coming up in the summer, folks. There's always periods where you're going to run out, especially when these games are pretty short. Although this one clearly isn't. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. It's lore spelled like LORE and then and then Lei. So one word, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. It's an Annapurna game, so go check out the publisher page on Steam if you're having trouble finding it. The developer's Simogo, but it says it's made from folks. Is it a collaboration of folks who made Yearwalk and Sayonara Wild Hearts? It does look a little Simogo. Sayonara Wild Hearts. That is them. Oh, it is. Okay, okay.
Yeah. They've been doing this kind of stuff. This like unique. Nobody makes video games like them. Like I think.
Right.
They make really unique, special stuff that's very like artsy, but also very approachable. And yeah, Sayonara Wild Hearts. I know Frank's nodding over there. That game's fucking cool as hell. It's. I love the music. The art style's awesome. They make great stuff, and this is one of them.
$25. Sounds like it's worth the cost of entry. If it's 27 hours, ain't bad at all. Onward we move on our own little year walk here of fantastic video games. Jesse Grasher brought us that one. Jesse Grasher brought me this one. This was a great recommendation you gave me last week I think it was earlier this week in our production meeting. What a fucking weird game. So I'm really, really, really just grateful to indie games just for keeping games interesting for me. Like there are types of games I will go back and play again and again, like your arena shooters, your immersive sims, all that sort of stuff. But a lot of stuff that comes out, it's just not for me, or I've played a lot of it. You know, I can't play FIFA anymore. I've played that FIFA game for 13 years. It's boring to me now. But the indie space just keeps delivering fucking weird remixes of interesting stuff or genres that I was interested in or wished I got interested in. And Cryptmaster is just I don't know. So, okay, the way I'll pitch this is somebody made a typing of the dead mud. So this is your multi-user dungeon game. Your like first-person game, like Wizardry is the one everyone talks about. There was a game on the Amiga I played called Abandoned Places. It's your game where you're inside of a dungeon, but you're walking on like you turn on like a 90-degree grid and you walk forward almost like a chessboard tile set, but it's all first person. If you can imagine, you maybe you know this because you play games like Wizardry, or you've played like, I don't know, in a way like the Ultimate Underworld games, and Arcs are sort of like the free-form, you can move in any direction version of what MUDs were. But the other thing that MUDs were was from the world of D&D. So they were 3D representations of games that came prior to that. We are talking about not RimWorld. You're talking about like old school D&D text-based games. For some reason RimWorld is stuck in my fucking head. People will know what they're talking. Games in the 80s where you're basically like typing in and saying like, you know, walk left, do, you know, go to the mountains, all that type of shit. I'm gonna text Jesse after this and make you edit in a piece where I explain what fucking game I'm talking about. This is doing my head in.
You're talking about like Zork?
I like Zork. Yeah.
Okay.
And like but there's one that's like whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just like a thorn in my brain. Anyway, so what this is it's a first person MUD. It's like one of those where you're walking around. You're tapping forward. You're tapping back. But many of your interactions, almost all of your interactions, are based on typing words. How the game sort of like presents this is both varied and sort of like wonderfully fluid and dynamic in a way that you're never quite sure when you can just do weird shit. For instance, when you walk up to a door, you type DOOR to open it, and your character goes like DOOR, like sort of like grunts it a little bit,
like Banjo-Kazooie is what that sounded like.
Basically, yeah. You know, you go up to a chest, it'll be like EST. You type it in. You were controlling this game with your like right hand on the cursor keys, because I went straight to Wasad. And they were like, no, you don't want to use WASD and D. You can if you want, but you got to hold down shift because you're going to be typing fucking letters with those keys. So your right hand is on the cursor keys and you're just like typing. You're not using your mouse at all because you're using the cursor keys to turn 90 degrees and walk forward and backwards and all that sort of stuff. But the game does all these stuff. Like, for instance, when you open the chests, it'll present you with like a riddle. And it'll give you like, what's in this chest? And the Cryptmaster, who is the sort of omniscient present in the game, it's one of the developers' voices, the Cryptmaster, which I also find very funny. But the Cryptmaster will like appear on the screen. It's just like this.
You got to do your impersonation.
Skull. He's like, hey, he's like a 3D skull. And he's like, what's in this chest? ask me what's in the chest. And you can type in like look or taste or smell or like any words, remember. You can type in a bunch of different words and he'll go like, oh, what does it say? Or like noise. And he'll go, if I hit it, it sort of sounds like a piece of metal, and it looks like it's a pear-shaped piece, and you basically have to like guess what the fucking thing is. So you're typing in like shield, or you're typing in like helmet, or you're typing in whatever, you know what I mean? Could be fucking anything. Some of the times it's like, it sounds like he's got a cat toy or something. Like, I don't know what this fucking thing is. I fucked up at the start on my first run and didn't get 2 of the 3 things that you're supposed to get at the start of this game.
Oh, wow.
I just didn't get them. And it became quite hard. And the game has a sort of an easy mode accessibility thing you can do as well, where you get extra hints. So that's one thing. But then like sometimes you'll go up to like gates, or you'll meet a character in the world. It's all black and white, this whole thing. It's all like crazy look. It looks like somebody sort of like drew it, almost like sketchbook. All the textures are like, look like they were hand drawn. You'll meet like friendly NPCs in the world, and they'll like tell you riddles, or they'll ask you questions. You can just talk to them like those old programs. This isn't like AI chatbot stuff. This is more, reminds me of like back in 2002 when I got a program that was like a piece of software that was designed to basically answer questions and try and pretend like it's a human. And the game does a good job of like, if you say something random, it's just like, what do I typed in poop one time, and they're like, oh,
classic.
Filthy, wash your mouth out.
I didn't want to talk about poop.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really impressive, some of the stuff it picks up on. But then sometimes you'll like find like a beast that's like guarding a door, and you have to like trick it into letting you in. And like somebody else in the world will be able to say, oh, that guy, just tell him this. And then you'll go back to the door and type it in, and they'll let you in. So it's just so novel. And then the most important, I guess, aspect of this is the combat. So when you enter combat, much like a MUD, you're sort of like locked into the combat. While you are in first person and you're one character, you are a party of 4 characters, like many, RPGs and MUDs and stuff like that. So you have, your barbarian, your sorceress, your whatever. There's a bard, and then I forget who the other one is. Maybe an archer or something. I'm not quite sure. And they all have their own names, and then they have abilities that they can do, like hit or yell or soothe, or there's like I forget some of them now, but they all have their own words that you can say, and you basically type out the words. So the person who you're attacking is like hitting you, and then they're on a little countdown time where it pops up as like an hourglass, and you can see when their cooldown is coming. And every time you hit them, one of the letters in their words drops. They sort of have their health bar as like a word. But then all of your characters are on cooldown. So if I go hit, my barbarian is out for like 8 seconds. So I have to use other words. So you're basically encouraged to like try and get as many words into each of your characters as possible. You do that by every time you like open a chest, or like do a quest, or like beat somebody. Sometimes they'll drop the last letter of the word, and then that will go into these 4 little sockets at the bottom of the screen, which are basically like, I don't know if there's an American version. There's a show on British television called Countdown where they give you letters. Oh no, it's not. You know what it is? It's not that. It's another one. It's one where they're filling in the blocks on the words.
Like Wheel of Fortune?
Wheel of Fortune. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's like Wheel of Fortune style at the bottom. You'll have like, my barbarian sometimes will have like a 5-letter word there, and like maybe, there's 2 of the letters in there. And then at any stage when I'm playing the game, I can just say a word and guessing what that word is, and it'll unlock that ability. So it's just such a weird game. It's bizarre. It's challenging. It's definitely not easy. Yeah. Like every MUD kind of needs to be. It's an open world, open dungeon that you're sort of exploring. The art style is interesting. It's not like the most incredibly good looking game in the world, but it's novel looking, and it's just so fucking weird that I can't stop playing it. I find it fascinating.
That's awesome. I'm really glad you enjoy it, because when I played the demo for Next Fest, I played it before the Next Fest event even happened earlier in the year. I was like, this is incredible. Like, you're calling it novel. It's incredibly unique and like special. It's taking a genre that and format of game that used to be really prevalent and taking it into the future and presenting new ways of interacting with it, and giving you this world and these characters that are really well voiced. It's not just the Cryptmaster. There's like a fire I think she's like a skill point lady who shows up at one point, and she's really nice, but like if you're mean to her, her voice acting gets really good.
The way you save in this game is by smashing these altars.
That's what it is.
That this demigod basically has. So every time you do it, it basically reses your entire party and it saves the game. But it's just this, like, there are these beautiful altars that when you walk up to them, there's just like very fair-haired maiden sort of there, and she's like when you walk up to the second one, for instance, she's like, "Oh no, not you again!" Like, don't.
I remember you smashed it the first time,
and you just smash it. And you have to do it because it you're oftentimes my party is like almost wiped. Right, I'm down to like my last hit or whatever. It's an absolutely bizarre little game.
Yeah.
When I was something at PAX,
interesting. When I was at PAX, the marketing director for Occupar Games, the publisher, was there. Buddy, really nice guy. He showed me a later build of the game before it had come out, and I was playing a moment where you talk to a frog queen and have to convince them to marry you, and the sequence of events is just so funny. I was like. It was really cool to get to see that earlier.
It doesn't. Look who's given special, considerations to the person.
Yeah, I'm friends with someone who works at Aquapar directly. I'm personal friends.
And here you are, fucking.
I know, right?
But to that point though, it is like the stuff that they're asking you. It's not really easy shit. Like it's not like the obvious stuff. Like you really do have to think about it and engage in it and sort of rethink how you might play one of these games, like I love Typing of the Dead, but it's just it's Mavis Beacon but with zombies. It's fucking awesome. They carry backpacks on their Dreamcasts on their back. It's fucking great. Everyone go play Typing of the Dead. But this is like, it is cerebral. Like you can fuck it up like I did on my first run. And the answers are funny and it's just so silly. It's so silly because you'll be doing like, it's really embarrassing. It's like the egg flipping thing where like sometimes there'll be like the little Wheel of Fortune thing at the bottom and you're like, it's 3 letters and there's 2 of them there. Like, how am I not getting what this is? Like, I think one of them was Zap and then the A and P was there. And I was doing like map and he was like, you already have a map, and like tap. And it was like, tap. Why do you want to tap? Pap. What's pap? And then, gap, hap, HAP. What are you even saying? Like Cryptmaster's like talking back to you. And then eventually like the last one I hit is fucking, I'm like, oh, it's Zap, isn't it? Zap. And then your little character goes, ooh, and they're happy that they got their Zap. So it's like taking the piss out of you quite a lot as well. Sorry, Jeremy, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say it's interesting how like taking inspiration from old text-based RPGs. Also, I think the thing you were trying to think of was probably Discworld.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, it's not
although
Discworld?
I've read a lot of Terry Pratchett over the years.
You've mentioned
books.
Terry Pratchett before, so I thought maybe that was the one because there is a Discworld text-based mod. But anyway, it's interesting how adapting ideas from that kind of like outmoded genre, they have to, because it's like the text originally served the purpose of describing the environment because they couldn't graphically realize it, but now that you have like a visual environment, it is interesting how they have to take the textual elements and find new relevancy for them, and it sounds like it has pushed it into really interesting weird like word puzzle game show territory and dungeon crawling.
You've nailed it. It's like when they made these games. When they made these games first person, you lost the text stuff, right? Because you suddenly had a way to visually explore these worlds. But what you also lost was sort of what we were talking about before, that feeling of unlimited freedom. Even if you don't have it, there was this sense that, oh, I could type anything into this and maybe it'll give me an answer, and that's really interesting. And this game goes, why not both?
It's like it's why I bring up fucking Facade all the time, is because like it's not that Facade is like the most expansive game of all time. It is very expansive, but it's like the text parser can deal with a sufficiently large number of use cases that it creates the illusion of being a very like an infinitely expansive game. Or like Her Story, when you do the word search to find new evidence. Like Her Story is a game you can complete in like I can't remember exactly how long, but like one long sitting, if I recall correctly. And there is a finite amount of evidence that you can pull up by typing in search words. But the fact that you have this open text input creates this illusion of like, this is like fucking Google. Like I could just look up literally anything,
I think it was RimWorld that I was talking about, but I was getting confused because I wasn't talking about. No, it wasn't RimWorld.
Oh yeah,
fuck.
No, because
wasn't there old RimWorld
Was there?
That's what in my brain. The reason this is in my brain is because it comes up in the Dwarf Fortress stock. It's like one. It's like, am I crazy? Was there an old? No, I'm this is gonna do my head in. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I brought it back up. I thought I was solving it.
I need to drop this. There's like a type of old fucking adventure game where it's text based and it's not. Is it Hack? It might be Hack. I might be thinking of Hack. I think I am. Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, any questions about Cryptmaster? Any more?
No, sounds awesome.
Check it out. It's on Steam. Bring your keyboard. I think you can maybe play with a controller. I think at the start, I forget if it gives you an option.
You have to type letters. That would be. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a thing that pops up at the start. It says you really want to use a keyboard, but anyway, it's $25, 10% off at the moment. Offer ends though before this podcast will be live. But it's only $10 or 10%. Yeah, very positive. 400 reviews. Been up since May 9th. Yeah, go give it a shout. It's super wild. I might do a Noclip Crew quick look of it. It's one of those games I think maybe people who are on the fence would enjoy checking it out. We're not done here with our beautiful indie games. Isles of Sea and Sky. Is it out yet? I know they were very kind to give us codes. They gave us codes.
Don't say anything bad about the game, Jesse.
Don't do
won't.
it, Jesse. I'm the Cryptmaster being the
we're gonna get acquired by IGN if we start saying mean things.
Jesse, be kind. They gave us codes.
Oh boy. Well, let me open by saying I hate. No. This game is awesome. Isles of Sea and Sky. It is the latest game from Cicada Games. Jason Newman, I believe, is the name of the developer. It's almost like I spoke to him a couple weeks ago.
We love a cicada. You know, the Brood, the Maryland Brood happened a couple of years back. So shout out to cicadas.
Oh, really?
Falling asleep again for another 14 years or whatever it is.
I think something happens this year or next year where there's like two versions of the cicada that have different wake up cycles, and they're going to line up for the first time in 400 years. So it's going to be like way more cicadas than normal.
It's going to be like a double eclipse. It's going to burn the atmosphere off the earth, but with cicadas.
Yeah, it's going to be a swarm of cicadas just eating through cities. All the houses are going to be frames left over.
When I moved to Maryland and my wife told me about cicadas, I was like, you've just made this up. There's no fuck. Like, how have I lived my entire life not knowing that? So guess what? After like once every like twice a generation, thousands of animals like fucking come out of the ground and shed themselves and cover like the entire earth in this part of the world with their shell. Like, I'm like, that doesn't happen. How would I have not heard of this? This is horrible. And then, yeah, it's like a real thing. It's gross. Anyway, Cicada Games, gross name for a video game company. Book one.
See, there's the mean thing. We got it out of the way.
Yeah.
So Isles of Sea and Sky is a Sokoban style puzzle game where the focus is on solving these Sokoban block pushing style puzzles from a top down perspective. It's 2D. It's done in like a Game Boy Color style aesthetic, and it's presented with fixed screen style. So like you enter an area and it's a widescreen game, so it's not like on the Game Boy, but it's a little like those classic Zelda games. When you walk into an area, you see all of these different blocks that you could move around, fixed walls that you can't do anything to, different mechanics and puzzle pieces. And basically all you're doing is solving these to like find something. The narrative has no words and there's not like a strong setup for it. It doesn't sit you down and go like, this is your purpose. You wake up on an island and you start picking up pieces. And like, there's this other character that you keep meeting as you're walking around, and when you try to approach them, they run away from you. So your goal is probably to talk to them. Every time you follow them around, you end up at these gods that like give you powers and make it so you can solve other puzzles. And the joy of playing this is like, it's just really fun to do the Sokoban puzzles, pushing blocks around, and the way that it does it all is really elegant. It's very straightforward. You just move the blocks, but like the way that they build upon the mechanics of it all is just really impressive. It's very elegantly put together, and like,
what are we calling this art style? Is it like, which is it? Is it a Zelda? It looks like Atlantis or something. It's like a very like watery world. But what does this look like mostly to you? Is it a? I
mean, Link's Awakening on the Game Boy. Maybe no particular reason that I'm drawing attention to that one. But it looks a lot like that. That's definitely what they're going for. Was that like Game Boy Color, Game Boy, like early Game Boy Advance kind of art style of larger pixels, more flat colors. it's still very vibrant and has a lot going on. And the mechanics, the way that they build out is like, so one of the good tenets of making a good puzzle, like a solid, well-founded puzzle game and puzzles inside of that, is to take very straightforward problems and then throw a wrench into it, and then throw a wrench into that wrench, and like keep taking, like push a block from one point to the other point, and then how do you build pieces on top of that to make that action more challenging? And the way that I think Isles of Sea and Sky does that is really impressive, because it's not, I've played a good amount of Sokoban games, and like, it's not
I
like
remember
this
last
one's
year
just,
was Can of Wormholes was one of your
it was earlier in the
games
year,
of the year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Very challenging. This one takes a different approach, because it's designed sort of like a Zelda game, where when you go onto an island, there's puzzles that interconnect in the world. So the second island that you go to is this like watery island, and you can change the water level. It's only like 2 states, but you can adjust that. And then all of the puzzles on the island change. So like, if you're trying to solve one and there's these water blocks, and you push a water block into a hole and that extends the river, well, okay, now you can take that, and like, it's just the way that they all pile on top of each other is really, really well done. And like, everything is done without a text tutorial. So it's all, you push a block and it's like, that's what that does. But it teaches you so many different mechanics so quickly. Each screen has like its own things going on. It's just, I don't know, the act of playing it and getting through all of the challenges is really satisfying. It's mind bending, and it like requires you to follow these steps in a very specific order. But the breadth of options and mechanics that are there, I think makes it just one of the most compelling games I've played this year. Like, I have a hard time putting it down, because I just want to keep solving.
Nice. How long is it? Do you have any idea?
I haven't finished it yet. I think they're aiming for like double-digit hours, just barely, like 12, something like that.
Cool. Excellent. Also available on Steam. There's no demo for this, right? Was it during a Next Fest at one stage as well?
Was for a couple years, and then as they approached launch, they took it down. But it's definitely worth the money, in my opinion. I didn't pay for it, so I don't know. But it's it's really fun. It's great on Steam Deck also. Like, if you want to just sit down, clear one screen, and like put it away, if you have the capacity to do that, it's totally viable to play it that way. And I think you'll have a ton of fun.
$20 on Steam. It's got a 10% off, which just seems to be the way things get put up on Steam until June 5th. So you got a couple weeks to get in on that as well. Isles of Sea and Sky. Our final game this week, I believe, is our boy Howley. We've been out in the indie world. We've been out foraging in the indie forests. Frank's been on the beach, man. Just enjoying that good Hawaiian time. What's going on with you in Infinite Wealth? Have you not completed this yet?
No. So Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth came out, and that first week, I think I put the first 2 weeks, I put 16 to 20 hours in it. Loved it, was obsessed with it. But then immediately after, it was like Tekken 8 came out, Persona 3 came out. Like, the games just didn't stop coming out. And after finally like catching up on stuff, I was like, you know what, I want to go back to Yakuza. But because Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth has Kiryu in it, there is so much backstory that I'm missing out on. So I went all the way back to Yakuza 3. I beat Yakuza 3.
Oh, man. I
got halfway through Yakuza 4, and I was like, let me just go back to Infinite Wealth. So I was like, all right, I got enough of the lore. So now I'm back on Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Immediately, it's like, oh, this is the best game I've played all year. This is why did I stop playing this? It's so good. The next chapter, so I put maybe 4 hours into it. The next chapter, I unlocked Dondoko Island, which I'd heard so much about and was kind of anticipating getting to it, but also afraid of how addictive it would be. So this is straight up Yakuza Animal Crossing. And again, the game's been out, so people have probably never covered it. But I'm just
wait. Yeah. Yakuza. Guy already had. I'm still playing the Yakuza Pokemon. That's in Infinite Wealth. There's also a Yakuza, and also the Yakuza Crazy Taxi.
Yeah,
there's also a Yakuza Animal Crossing.
Yeah, so the Yakuza Animal Crossing it's part of the main story. Will just take you in the middle of the adventure. You just end up here and you have to do the first levels of it. I am blown away how addicting it is, how in depth it is, and the fact that it's straight up every element of Animal Crossing. Sorry, not Kiro, you're Ichiban. You have a small shed that you can eventually upgrade. You have Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing. You have different items that you can upgrade. You have your baseball bat that used to cut down trees and mine minerals. You have a net that you can catch bugs with. You have a spear that you can fish with. And then similar to the the daily shop. There's different items you can buy every day to decorate. You can craft items, but then it gets a step bigger. You decorate the entire island. Well, you basically make cities in it.
Oh my
And then it
God,
turns
what?
into like Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you start having guests visit your island, and you're trying to get money from your guests. So you, yeah,
I need to like, because the problem, you can never tell. Like, for instance, the Pokemon game is almost entirely done in menus. So is this like, this is going to sound like a really stupid question. I'm sorry in advance. Is this like a game that is like happening in a menu? Is this an actual island you go to?
It's an actual island you go to. To get back to Hawaii, you have to ride a you use a dolphin to go back. So it's a full on. Yeah, it's
Jesus
a full.
Christ.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
You ride
and
a dolphin. You get on a dolphin and you ride. Okay,
you get back. So, but what I like about it is when you decorate the city, you can choose what kind of like buildings you want. So you can straight up put like porn shops, you can put strip clubs, or you can have like coffee shop or fountains and stuff.
And how are you doing that? Like, is this like you're just walking around the island like third
kind of
person, like regular?
It's like The Sims. You hit a button.
Ichiban's just carrying a building on his head and just goes.
So you go to a plot of land, you hit the on the PlayStation the guide button, and it spits out like almost like I don't know, like the Sims or Roller Coaster. You have the different items you can.
It like goes back to like a map, a grid of like.
And then
you're
and you can
kidding
zoom
me.
out, and there's a grid, and you can't overlap stuff. You can also put paths down and things like that. And then your guests start walking on the paths, and it's like, oh no, this is.
So it's like theme park, like the old theme hospital or roller coaster tycoon. Oh my God.
So it's like I just started, and I'm like, oh, so there's a whole ass other game inside this already incredible game.
What
Is
is
there a
wrong
fat
with these
raccoon you
people?
owe money to?
Yeah.
You can plant like a raccoon statue, like the Tanuki.
Oh, there you go.
But no, you pay. I forget the guy's name, but there's like 2 humans. There's also 2 mascots, like that are based on like old like Sentai. Just these. I mean, everything in Japan. Is
Oh,
a
like
mascot.
every prefecture has its mascot thing. Yeah.
So there's mascots for Dondoko Island, and at the same time, there's like bad guys on the island. You have to run around and beat with baseball bats. It's insane, and I didn't unlock it until 16 hours into the game. So it's
these mascots. One of the mascots looks like Gritty, but like. It's like Gritty mixed with like the Cookie Monster, but they're red with googly eyes. What an
Gritty the
absolute
orange
nightmare.
hockey mascot.
Oh my God, this looks so good. Yeah, so I need to play more. I need to play more Infinite Wealth, and I might spend like this. Is there a lot of gameplay in here? It looks pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, you can get off the island after you do like the tutorial, but I haven't gone back. It's so good. If you do want to unlock it, like you can just mainline the story. The problem is Infinite Wealth itself, all the side quests, all the open world stuff. It's so good. Like that's why I think I got overwhelmed wanting to play it. Was just, oh my God, it's so good. But yeah, it really is incredible. So I don't know how many. Yeah, it's. Oh yeah, I am. It's really hard to put down. It's very, very satisfying.
So is it like a fun distraction, or is this the sort of thing that they want you to spend like 10 hours in straight? Like,
it's, you know what? I feel like it's valuable because you get a lot of like in-game currency, and then in that in-game currency you can then spend to upgrade your buy more inventory and stuff in the real like in the thing.
In the real,
In,
I know
not
what
in
you
the real
mean,
world,
but it's funny to be like, because it's totally a real thing. So it's funny to be like in the real world, not in this fake world on this island.
Because Dondoko is silly. It's so weird where it's like the Yakuza world is already extremely silly. Dondoko is even sillier, and it's like, oh, this is so incredible. Is it
a thing that you like can leave alone, and while you're doing real world Yakuza stuff, you still like accrue wealth, or do you have to go back?
I have to figure that out because I think you have to, when you go to Dondoko Island, you go to sleep at night, you advance the day. So I think it's every day you advance it, then you get it. So I think you have to, but I could be wrong. Because I just kind of unlocked that level where guests are coming in. So I don't know if you do set up passive. I know if you do have like restaurants and stuff, when you're on the island, like catching bugs and stuff, you will get money from the guests walking it. So I think it's like that where you have to play it in order to get it.
Okay.
But
can you build a
Sorry, you're early.
land?
I have one more question. I'm really curious. The grass, does it grow when you come? I'm just like so shocked.
No,
you're
so
describing this like
day,
it's so deep.
Every day there's new new plants, rocks, trees.
So you have to cut the grass like an Animal Crossing?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Stuff.
Yeah. And then
These people are just like they're like genre conventions. Fuck you. We'll just do whatever we want. I'm gonna put this in as a bonus mode in this video game.
Yeah.
In terms of the soap land, I think you can build it because they have things that's like, one is just straight up like DVD store, but it's an adult video store. There's like they have funny adjectives to describe it where it's, I forget the terms for it, but it's like, oh, discreet gentleman's club or something like that.
But
it's like
are you building stuff that's on Hawaii, or are you building stuff that would also be in
Oh, that's a good. It seems it's all very Japan stuff.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
It's very like you're building like you can plant the Sontonberry gates, the giant red gates that actually exist in Shinjuku. So that's what I like about it is the city building stuff reminds me of like, oh man, I remember when I went like. You're planting stuff that you would see in Japan, like the vending machines and things like that. So
is this island close to Hawaii or is it close to Japan? How far is this dolphin taking you?
Maybe the Dondoko's in between.
Yeah, it's in international waters. That's why you can
but I think
you can run a discreet gentleman's club.
You don't need a permit.
Island. Yeah.
But that's why I like because also it's the adult Yakuza version of Animal Crossing. Like Nintendo would never let you put a porn store on the island. I mean, you can make a store and put signs up.
Hey
whatever,
man, I know as many people as I get to sign that change.org petition, they just won't seem to budge on.
They won't yield.
They won't yield. Exactly.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Save Animal Crossing. That's what we're trying to do here. Get rid of censorship in Nintendo video games. God, so sorry. I just sort of look at all your faces there. That sounds great. Thank you, Frank, from reporting from the front lines of Donodoko Island. Please update us on what's going on in the beautiful world of Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth as we continue into this beautiful year. I can't believe it is almost June. This seems insane. Summer Games Fest is just around the corner. Frank will be covering the show for us this year, so very excited to check out some of that stuff. We also have a bunch of cool stuff hitting the channel. Our third episode of Hyper Light Development just went live yesterday. Embracing Chaos, all about how Hyper Light Breaker survived 2023, and a bit of insight into how even studios that weren't owned or had business dealings with Embracer directly were still basically victims of the splash damage of everything that happened last year. The fourth episode of Jane Dev is also up after 2 years of game dev. What do I have to show for it? Chauffeur it, yes. Sorry, I came up with that title. The video is Jeremy Jane talking about your creative the creative like bridge point you find yourself in. People super like the episode. I think a lot of folks who are in a similar position really empathize with it as well, and very excited to see what's in the next future episodes of Jane Dev as you it sounds like you got a game going on there. So a little secret video game.
I got a couple projects cooking that are in varying states of completion that I'm excited about. Yeah, it was funny because the original idea for it was like, I'll just like take the games I'm working on and like build like little tiny vertical slices and show them off. And then I was like, that feels like a weird, like I'm doing it for the video, and I really don't want to make a game dev about like, making videos about game dev. I want
content.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to be content brained about it. I want to make games because I'm interested in like making games and exploring the things you can do within game making for its own sake. So it kind of became about like having a sustainable relationship to creativity and kind of like how to balance keeping it in a way where it's like for yourself, but also you don't become like a cloistered hermit who's like, I'll never show anyone these games. They're just for me. So it was nice.
Check it out on Noclip Crew. And then the next episode of Dear Diary will have the previous episode with Dave Oshry went up last week. The next one is going to have Jake Solomon. I caught him after his announcement of the new studio and everything that's going on over there. Talked to him about his time at Firaxis working on XCOM. Of course, talked to him about one of our games of the year last year as well. And also his future game. Got some really good, interesting answers about whatever the project they're working on, which is a sort of a narrative take on the life simulator game, sort of like The Sims, but with story. We had a good chat about that, as well as the Maryland Ren Fest. All the most important things come up.
I do find it funny reading what Solomon had to say about his upcoming game, that the thing that he took from Marvel's Midnight Suns and wants to build a new studio on is the part that most people thought like they just didn't like. It's the narrative stuff.
The dating stuff?
Yeah.
I love that shit. That was great.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. I loved it. I thought it was awesome too. So I'm glad he's building out on that end of it. But that was not the angle I was expecting when he said he was announcing a new studio.
It was great. Yeah. We chatted a little bit about that, about how, the limits therein, honestly, how much weird, I guess, creative freedom they got from Marvel on it. It was very interesting, actually, talking all about the the production on Midnight Suns as well, and how they ended up with the game they ended up on as well, and how they could have had an XCOM 3 almost, but this was just something that I think the studio was interested in. So yeah, great chat with Jake. Good to catch up with him, and somewhat assuage some of my guilt of living in Maryland for 2 years and never doing anything on XCOM Civ or Fear Access. Maybe we'll get around to that at some stage. That's it, folks. That's a podcast. Thanks for checking out the Crewcast. Support Patreon. I don't know. I guess you're sort of supporting Patreon by joining our Patreon. They do get a cut, but not that much of a cut because we got grandfathered in. So head over to patreon.com/noclip to support our work. We'll see you next time on the Crewcast. Bye.